I'm Joe Springer. I wanted to explicitly introduce myself. I'm the editor of the Wall Street Exclusive. I've had a lot of success analyzing stocks, and so I started the Wall Street Exclusive to help people learn what I know. I had 6 stocks in a row double that I wrote in-depth reports about in a short period of time. 6 in a row double, pretty good. For a time, tipranks.com ranked me the #1 analyst in the world out of thousands, so that was pretty cool. And I'm still hanging around the top 5%, tipranks.com. I also got an Outstanding Performance Award on Seeking Alpha for some work I did there. I had my Aristocrat newsletter, formerly the Multibag newsletter, formerly the Daily Double newsletter. That whole thing, whatever you call it the whole time, that's beating the S&P 500, the stocks that I'm picking there. And we're not flitting in and out of stocks, just identifying stocks we really like. I'm a certified technical trainer that loves to teach about the stock market, and so I started the Wall Street Exclusive to do just that, and that's what I'm doing here, and I wanted to explicitly introduce myself to you. Okay, I have 3 pieces of information for you today. The first is Orexigen Therapeutics. I think it's a screaming buy. The second is the stock market. For your long-term money, I think the stock market is a screaming buy. What I want to say there is, for your long-term money, don't have cash. Okay, and then the third is Hydrogenics. There's a stock I've written about in the past. They just had their first profitable quarter. It looks like a really great time, really exciting stock. So we'll talk about that one. Okay, so #1 is Orexigen, we think is a buy. Orexigen is a pharmaceutical company, Orexigen Therapeutics. They have a drug called Contrave. Contrave is a weight loss drug for obese people. It was approved in it was approved in September by the FDA. And the Japanese drug maker Takeda is marketing it in the United States. It's been making significant market share gains. It's really doing well in the market, and so that's doing great. This drug and some others like it are there heart concerns. So the FDA approved it, and there was an ongoing heart safety study that was still ongoing. It was a large study, more than 4,000 people in each arm. That study showed surprising heart safety benefits at the interim analysis. The entire study wasn't over, but it's a large study, and at an interim point they took a look, and at that interim analysis in the Contrave group, there were 35 people that had major adverse cardiovascular events. And in the placebo group, there was 59. Well, this drug was supposed to be possibly bad for cardiovascular, and there was 35 people in the Contrave group and 59 people in the placebo group having major adverse cardiovascular events. And more than that, 5 people in the Contrave group died, 19 people in the placebo group died, and it looks like these are benefits not just because, heart benefits, not just because people are losing weight. In the 8K that Orexigen filed, they said, quote, "The observed effects on cardiovascular outcomes were unexpected and appear to be unrelated to weight change." So it looks like a heart benefit unrelated to weight change. End quote, a little bit back there. There's potential negative, so the potential negative turns out to be a potential positive, and they get 7 more years on their patents. They have a patent that goes out to 2034 now because of that, and that's how people found out about this. They put that interim safety data in their patent. Okay, and then there's also Europe. So Contrave is being sold here currently in the United States, and it just had really good safety data. There's also Europe. Contrave goes by Mysimba there. It received a positive opinion from the European Medicines Agency's Committee for Medicinal Products for Human Use in December. That's a mouthful. And their approval or their ruling is expected at any time. It was looking pretty good for approval. This safety data should push it over the finish line. Now, there was a lot of hubbub lately about this safety data. The data was released before the study concluded, which may have an effect on the integrity of the study going forward, but that's irrelevant because Orexigen has to start over with a different study anyway. The FDA decided that the design of the study was insufficient in the first place, so Orexigen will launch another study, another safety study that they say will conclude around 2022. That study will probably never conclude because the interim safety data was sufficient to rule out this drug being a major heart risk. So the new safety study may never conclude because putting a patient that needs to lose weight for health reasons into the trial to possibly get a placebo instead of the approved drug is not something doctors are likely to do. So so Orexigen will launch the study anyway to comply with the FDA, but it's not clear that study will ever conclude, and the drug is already approved. Contrave is already approved. Okay, Orexigen made the data public by filing for a patent. They went for the business protection, and the FDA made a statement that they disapproved in a general way, but the rules and the guidelines around such things are not exactly spelled out by the FDA very clearly. So while the FDA may tongue lash Orexigen some more, the prospect of, so it's like, well, this was such great news. Orexigen went up a bit and then it started to go down because the FDA started saying, hey, that wasn't nice. So the bear case here is that the FDA will pull the drug off the market because it's mad in the face of this great safety data. That's crazy. The FDA may be mad, but they're not going to pull off the drug they just approved because, after great safety data. So here's a quote from the FDA. Despite the serious concerns, quote, despite the serious concerns raised by Orexigen's dissemination of interim results, all of these activities occurred after the interim analysis was conducted. Thus, FDA approved Contrave because the interim analysis did exclude the pre-specified twofold increased risk of major adverse cardiovascular event, yielding an acceptable benefit risk assessment to support an approval with further characterization of cardiovascular risk after approval. Okay, so they said this, that data that it released, it was good enough to rule out it being very bad. Now, it's still not enough to rule out that it's to prove anything, but that's why they approved it. Okay, in addition, this should not be too surprising because the FDA already noted that the Contrave trials showed benefits in a number of secondary health measures, including triglycerides, HDL cholesterol, high sensitivity C-reactive protein, amongst other things. So a bunch of secondary health measures that Contrave is shown to help anyway, so this shouldn't be too surprising. Okay, so we think Contrave has double digits in the future. Contrave is looking much safer, maybe even more beneficial than previously thought. The potential negative turned out to be a potential positive, and it should bolster U.S. sales and push European approval across the finish line. Vivus and Arena have Casemia and Belvic. Those two have bad or at least questionable side effect and safety data. Contrave is sort of eating their lunch anyway, eating their market share with this safety data. Orexigen looks like a buy. We think Orexigen's in the 7s now in the Aristocrat portfolio at the Wall Street exclusive that you can sign up for 3 weeks for $3. We've got in under $7, so Orexigen's in the it's in the $7 now. We think it's going to the double digits soon enough. This could easily be a multi-bagger. They don't think there's any prayer the FDA is gonna come down on Contrave just because it's mad, even if it would like to, or even if some executives there would like to. Okay, so we think Orexigen is a screaming buy. Next, we're going to look at how much cash should you have in your stock portfolio, and then we'll take a look at Hydrogenics. They just reported their first profitable quarter. Okay. For the Wall Street exclusive, I'm Joe Springer. How much of your stock market money should you have in cash? Well, if there's a big correction, I want to be able to pounce. How much should I keep in cash? And the answer is 0%. 0%. If you're trying to time the broad market, that's a mistake. Individual security analysis has made all of the famous investors famous. There are few, if any, famous market timers. With the broad market's made up of people around the world, how can you know what all those things are going to be doing? And individual security, now you can start to get an edge. Okay, so the only money that should be in your stock market, your stock market money needs to be your long-term money in the first place. So if you don't need that money for a while, leave it in the market. Trying to time the market is foolish. If timing the broad market could be done consistently, there would be lots of rich market timers, and there are not. All the rich famous investors are basically value investors. They're all all people that looked at individual securities. Broad market timers, very few and far between. Probably people have done it and gotten rich once, got it right once or twice, but to do it consistently, there's just not many people like that. Kramer said this last week. In fact, one of the chief reasons that I outperformed pretty much every other manager in the business during my 14-year run as a professional money manager is that there were substantial blocks of time when I was largely in cash. quote, end quote. Cramer had some very good famous market timing calls where he was right. Cramer also had some very bad famous market timing calls where he was wrong. Cramer wrote his autobiography called Confessions of a Street Addict. It's the only book that's not an audio book. It's the only one of his books he doesn't really promote. He even said, people asked him, why did you write that? And he said, well, people asked. So he wrote it. What he says he did in Confessions of a Street Addict was not time the market, maybe once or twice or something, but it was all about getting an edge in individual securities, and that's what you should do too. So how much of your money for your stock market money should you have in cash to pounce for when the market goes down? 0%. When you can name a list of smart people that can time the market, well, then maybe it's time for you to model yourself after them and try to time the market too. Instead, don't try to time the market. Let the market work for you, and leave it there. Okay. And if you don't know where to put it, if you're not an active investor, I like the VO, the Vanguard Mid Cap Index Fund. And, or there's the S&P 500 if you'd rather do what other people are doing. Just remember there's always, literally always, at all times, there's always somebody telling you that the sky is falling. So if you're looking for the green light, it's okay, it's all clear to go all in the market now. Never gonna happen. Okay, so if you do want to, for your stock market money should only be your long-term money anyway, not what you need in the next 5 years, and that should always be fully invested. Okay, go to the VO if you don't know where else to go. If you want, here's five broadly diversified stocks in the aristocrat portfolio that we've already talked about. Hormel, US Ecology, Compass Minerals, Tonix Pharmaceuticals, Endurance Holdings. There's 5 broadly diversified, excellent, outstanding companies. You can, in my opinion, you can put your money there and leave it and do very, very well. All right. So don't put your money in cash thinking you're going to time the next move. That money sitting in cash is just as likely to, well, going historically, it's more likely to sit there while the market gets away from it. Okay. Next, we're going to talk about Hydrogenics, and they just had their first profitable quarter. Very exciting. Hydrogenics is a very exciting company. Hydrogenics is in a couple very exciting businesses. It's a clean energy company, and it also makes hydrogen fuel cells. It's called Hydrogenics for a reason. Hey, Elon Musk. Elon Musk, I've watched him talk about, he's talked about a number of times why hydrogen is not nearly as good as an idea as batteries in vehicles. Hey, Elon, which company is profitable again, Tesla or Hydrogenics? Just asking, you know. Hey, Elon, how are sales going in China there? Just asking. Less than 10 cars a day and firing hundreds of people? Just asking. Okay, so Elon Musk is famous for poo-pooing fuel cells. Okay, so Hydrogenics just reported its first profitable quarter ever, the fourth quarter of 2014, its most recent quarter. Revenues year over year were up 43%. Hydrogenics has been around for a while, making hydrolyzers for industrial use because hydrogen doesn't really exist naturally. You got to separate it from water. And then it also did fuel cells for transportation, propulsion, things like that. And then it also has a power to gas business, which we'll talk about. So in its fuel cell business for vehicles, there's its Celerity line of heavy-duty fuel cell modules. This is turnkey solutions for buses, trucks, and other commercial applications. The drive trains, the drive systems are made by Siemens that this integrates with automatically. There's other companies that make drive systems. Siemens makes the best, and so they're cross-selling with Siemens right now, but that's going well. If you're looking at fuel cell energy or plug power, here's a Hydrogenics. I don't know why Hydrogenics never gets any credit for being a fuel cell company, but they're a profitable one now. And I don't know any others like that. And they also do recharging stations. So they don't just do the cells for the vehicles, they do the recharging stations, and they do the maintenance at the recharging stations too. Okay. And then they also have a fuel cell power production joint venture with Cologne in Korea. A joint venture will serve the market for utility scale fuel cell power generation. So they have fuel cells for propulsion of vehicles, they have fuel cells for utility scale things, and these are build, own, operate models, so they'll be maintaining these and have recurring revenue over a long time. So that's very exciting. That's in Korea, and then that's in their fuel cell business. Fuel cells, they got them all over California, everywhere else as well. But then in their other business, the renewable energy business, the power to gas, there's a problem with renewable energy. how do you store it? On a cold night when it's really windy, the windmill might be going and the grid might not need the energy, but now it's a hot summer day, everybody's using their air conditioning. Gee, really wish we had that energy we didn't need over the winter night times. And so the way that renewable energies are stored now, 99%, is that they're mostly wasted, but if they are stored, it's pumped hydro installations, which requires a lake on top of a mountain. So when the windmills are going at night and nobody needs any of the energy, they pump water up a mountain into a lake. The next day when they need it, they let it down the hill and it turns a turbine and makes electricity. Okay, so that's how it's done now. Only problem is you need to be next to a mountain with a lake on top of it. What Hydrogenics solution does is hydrogen electrolysis. So the windmill's going and nobody needs the electricity. Okay, we'll take that electricity to power our hydrolyzers, our electrolyzers, and we'll split water molecules into hydrogen and oxygen. Then the hydrogen, which is an extremely dense fuel source, about 3 times denser than natural gas, we'll take that hydrogen and stick it right into the natural gas system. And there you go. Any place that is, natural gas systems are huge, sprawling things all over modern countries. And so basically, Hydrogenics has a solution that can be installed anywhere at any time. And it's partnered now with Enbridge in Canada, E.ON in Germany, and it's got the best technology, the best patents, best intellectual property. It's gotten easily the most awards in Germany, even though it's competing against Siemens, which is a German company, and these are sponsored by the German government with getting taxpayer money. So these things want to go to German companies. Hydrogenics just has the best technology. Okay, and now they're profitable. I wrote about them 2 years ago. What a great, exciting company. They're finally profitable, and so that was their first profitable quarter. They've also got a strong backlog of orders and a focus on cost controls as well. In the latest conference call, CEO Darrell Wilson said, quote, "I think the critical thing for 2015 is to realize that a number of these opportunities of the larger magnitude that we've sort of been pregnant with for a while are actually going to show up. And so the news flow on substantiating the opportunities for us in energy storage and in continuous power generation are very substantial, and having those start to show up as orders during the year is the most critical thing. In terms of execution, I have shown here we're starting the year very strong with orders committed for delivery in the year equal to last year's revenue, and then on top of that, whatever we can book in the next six months will get added. So what we're drawing attention to today in terms of the potential for top-line growth is very substantial. I draw your attention to the fact that some of this is qualified leads, as I've explained in power to gas in the regular business, and some of it is pending orders from customers that we're already signed up with, So there is no risk of losing the relationship or losing the opportunity. It's merely a matter of an existing company saying, yes, we're ready to go now, such as the case with Cologne in Korea. So lots of opportunity in front of us. I think substantial news flow for the year for sure. And I think a good top line delivery, but right now I'm not committing to a number. Okay, so the end quote. So they just turned profitable. This 2015 looks really, really good, and their business is extremely exciting in the first place. So Hydrogenics looks like a buy. They got the fuel cell business and the power to gas business, and their industrial electrolyzer business is sort of the players that are sort of the customers there are now looking at their more green. We want to do the whole no carbon footprint thing. So they're kind of coming around and looking at their other technologies as well. So that business is sort of blending into the more green, clean businesses. Okay, so Hydrogenics, very exciting company. All right, I hope you found that useful. I'm Joe Springer for the Wall Street Exclusive. See you tomorrow.